Welcome back again to Joe Stunner Boxing. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing great. Bit of a quick video, pretty much a follow-up video tonight, I think, because I did a couple of videos a few days ago. Like one, I think I did one at the weekend and one earlier in the week, and they both concerned the whole Terence Crawford, Bob Arum legal case that's pending. I'm sure many of you already know that Crawford has accused Arum of, well, not just Arum, but top rank of basically being a racist organisation, Arum himself being a racist. And there's going to be a lot of he said, she said going on here, because the onus of proof is on the person making the accusation, and it's difficult thing to prove. You need documented evidence. Testimonials count, but emails, recorded phone calls, and so on, to sort of weld the case shut, you need that type of evidence. But it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But as I said in the previous videos, a couple of interesting questions arise. Some people have been saying, Crawford's playing the race card, and on the other end you've got people saying, no, Top Rank has a history of being biased or bigoted against black fighters. Okay, I covered or I touched upon those polar opposite views in the previous videos, but the one thing that sticks in my mind is, and that's why I'm doing this little follow-up video, is what is the role of the promoter in the modern game? Because Arum's claim was, Crawford didn't promote himself enough. Well, okay, in the Instagram social media age, I suppose fighters do have to do their bit, but nevertheless, you are a promoter. It is up to you, if you're going to call yourself the promoter, to take the reins and to do what, I mean, Eddie Hearn is very, very good at this. He's a pure salesman. He's taken fighters who were previously, who showed a lot of potential in the ring. Some of them are not the most media savvy or the most charismatic people outside the ring, and yet he's turned them into big stars. Katie Taylor, I think, is a great example. Lovely lady, seems like a very nice girl, but perhaps not the most interesting interviewee, and doesn't really have a great deal to say. Seems very, very, very shy. Another example would be Daniel Dubois. Frank Warren, Queensbury have got him. He's on their books, and very, very shy guy. But, Warren has got him to British, Commonwealth and European level. Didn't work out against Joe Joyce, but the kid's still got a future in the game and still stands to make a lot of money. Okay, he's a heavyweight. I get it. Heavyweights earn more money, but at the same time, Warren's doing his bit as a promoter. And there was one thing in particular that really strikes me, that several people have said during this whole back and forth argument, and that is that Crawford was overpaid by Arum. Well, let's break that down a little bit, because I don't think that actually makes any sense. Promoters and promotional companies are essentially venture capitalists. They are investing their money in a product, and I hate calling fighters products, but it's the free market economy and so on, and capitalism, and they're a product. They're a product. They're a name. They're a brand. And promoters are putting their money in with a view to taking a profit out at a later date. Venture capitalism. Now, for those who are not necessarily that familiar with the concept of venture capitalism, you do have these very wealthy individuals and organizations who, especially in America, they're big on this in America, who, they will specifically target new companies and get behind either companies or individuals. Usually it's a company with a rather charismatic leader, and they will plug in very often, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, with the hope that this company will become the next, I don't know, Apple or Amazon, or and they will then their 100 million will be turned into 20 billion or whatever. The big amounts of money being plugged in. And to a lesser extent, some people only put in 100 grand, some people only put in 1 million. But that's the idea. That's venture capitalism, and it seems to me that promoters do that. They're putting money into a product with the hope that they're gonna get it back at a later date. Now let me give you an example of when venture capitalism goes wrong. Recently, you may have read about this in the paper. There was a woman named Elizabeth Holmes who was the founder and CEO of a supposed revolutionary healthcare company called Theranos. And at one point, this company was worth $9 billion, and she had a 50% stake in it. So she was worth $4.5 billion. And her company, she founded it when she was 19, and she, through wheeling and dealing and networking, she's a young woman, and she looked okay on the screen, and she had a lot of patter, and she had a very intense stare, big blue eyes. She deliberately lowered her voice to sort of baritone level, where she was. So when she would get on screen, she would project this image of, a tremendous intellect, a visionary, and so on. And I think it was, what was the amount? Was it $900 million? Various people invested in this company. The company, by the way, purported to have a system where it was a healthcare company, and it purported to have the technology to take just a single drop of blood and do all sorts of tests for all sorts of diseases, whereas normally you need to have a cannula put in and blood drawn out and syringes and all that. Now you get rid of that. You just have one single little drop of blood, and we'll put it into this machine, which she called an Edison, and it will do all of that for you. Now, I work in the care industry. I'm not a doctor or a nurse, but every doctor, anyone who was any kind of biochemist said this doesn't work. The technology's not there. It's total nonsense. But people were throwing money at her, hundreds of millions of dollars, and it was complete fraud. And now she's been found guilty of fraud, mass fraud. She's looking at 20, 30 years in prison. And now you have to look at those investors and say, did you do your due diligence? And okay, it turns out that the whole patter was fraudulent, that she was a complete charlatan. But at the same time, you've got to say those investors didn't they go to experts on healthcare technology? Didn't they ask? Didn't they? Yeah, due diligence. That's what you should do, especially if you're plugging hundreds of millions of dollars into something. Well, the reason I mention this is, let's look at promoters. Presumably, promoters have done their due diligence. So if you get Aram and Top Rank looking at Crawford and saying, wow, that guy's got some real talent. Yeah, I'll give him, $3 million a fight, or whatever the contract was. I don't know the details of it. I can't be asked to look either. But, you can't then turn around and say, just because you're not doing your job, and your job is to promote, you can't then turn around and say, we've overpaid you. It's not as if Crawford was being the Elizabeth Holmes figure and conning anyone. He was going into the ring and giving brilliant performances and knocking people out. I mean, he's beautifully skilled fighter. Since Aram signed him up, since Top Rank signed him up, I don't know I looked at this on BoxRec earlier, but I think he scored all knockouts, and he's won titles at 3 different weights, and he's been an undisputed super lightweight champion, and he's the current WBO welterweight champion, and he's looked fantastic. So he's done his bit. It's not like he's conned Aram. So Aram is overpaying him. Why is that? No, he's not. Presumably, he's paying him. He agreed to that contract, the one that Bud Crawford signed, because he felt he was investing his money into a genuine product. And that product has delivered. He's done his bit. He's been spectacular. Aram cannot... What, was he giving him money out of the goodness of his heart? I don't think so. It doesn't strike me that is feasible or plausible. Promoters, especially Bob Arum, 90 years of age with 50 years in boxing behind him, he doesn't strike me as, I can't remember a previous occasion when he gave money away, but he just said, here's some money, have it. You know, I'll overpay you, don't worry about it, I'll overpay you. No, no, no. If he's giving you money, he wants something back later on. And I think, having thought about this, I think that the guilt or the mistakes, the flaws, the incompetency, maybe that's the word, yeah, incompetency, lies with Arum, not with Crawford. Crawford's done his bit. He's won all his fights. So regardless of whether you think Crawford is playing the race card or that if you think that Arum is a racist or whatever, to me that all kind of misses the point a little bit. I'm not trying to diminish someone who if he's a racist, okay, hammer him. Or if he isn't a racist and there's no evidence and Crawford is making a claim that's piss and wind, then okay, you can hammer him if you like. I don't really care, but to me this misses the point about promoters and boxers. A promoter's job is to promote. A promoter does not give money away. A promoter takes a fighter and builds him, or should build him, in the same way that Eddie Hearn did for Katie Taylor and Anthony Joshua and many others, in the same way that Frank Warren is, whatever you think of Hearn or Warren, I mean, I'm not Warren's biggest fan, never have been by any stretch of the imagination, but he's very good at bringing on fighters, like Dubois, like Billy Joe Saunders, area level, British title, Commonwealth, European, world. He's very good at bringing on young fighters, with a proven track record over decades, not just years. Arum had very often, and not just Bud Crawford, but you can say this of Inoue Inoue, Josh Taylor. I'm just going by the current fighters. They were the finished article pretty much when he got them. What's he done with Inoue? What's he done with Josh Taylor? So those are my thoughts on just another video on this subject. But I think it's an interesting subject. The modern role of the promoter. Has it changed that much? What do you think? Leave your comments below. Yeah, as usual, thanks for listening. If you could subscribe to the channel, please. We hit 200 subscribers recently. Nice one. Love you all. Well done. Hit the like button. It all helps. And any support you give the channel, like I always say, it's always appreciated. But thanks for listening. Thanks for your time, as always. And we'll speak again. Leave your comments below. I'm interested to hear them. Speak soon. Peace out.